So in today's video, we're going to go through how to automatically calculate if you select, could be several products, maybe people with an hourly rate. So anything where you're going to select multiple items and then want the total for those items to show up in a column. So let's jump into the app script here. And so we'll go ahead and just call this script for now. And what we're going to use in here is a simple onEdit function, which just looks like this, and then we'll put our code inside here. Now, I'm going to show you two ways to do this. One is I'll show you how to build a little table in here, and the other is I'll show you if you want to use a table in the Google Sheet like this. So we'll start in the script here, and then we'll work and show you how to incorporate from here. So to incorporate from the script, what we're going to do is create a little object, and we'll call this project catalog and use these curly braces here. And then we can simply set all of our products here and the price. So we can do like this, product 2, and you notice I'm putting them in double quotes, and then I'm putting the price outside, not in quotes because this is a number. And the one thing you'll want to make sure is this exactly matches what you have in the dropdowns. Now, one issue that easily arises is if you come over here and we edit this, if you add a space after or before a product, it's going to make it a little funky. And this is a good idea in general to make sure you don't have any extra spaces, because that can result in some unintended behavior if you're doing formulas or whatever you're doing. So go ahead and double check that, and then make sure you don't have any extra spaces beginning or end of these, and then that will work much, much better. And so basically what this onEdit function does is it tracks every time we make an edit in the Google Sheet. And so we can then iron down to if it's in this tab, if it's in this column, and if a selection was made. And so then basically what we can determine is what we selected here, and then we can use our little catalog here to reference what we need to come back with. So let's go ahead and get the data from the Google Sheet. And so every time we edit, this E will have some data. And so, for example, the range that was changed. And this is, for example, the row and the column. So make sure I get that equals in there. All right, so then we can do things like with the row, range.getRow, and that will get the row that was actually changed. And so if I made a change in this one, it'll return 2, and it'll return 3 for the column because it's 1, 2, 3. So let's go ahead and get the column, range.getColumn. And then a really important one is we can get the value, basically what we just entered or put in, just like this. And then one last thing we'll want to do is actually get what tab or sheet was edited. So when we make a change, we only want this to happen on data for the moment, but I'll show you how to adjust that. So we'll call this source, and e.source get active sheet. All right, so that gets the data we need from the change in Google Sheets. And so now we can say something like if source get name is equal to data, and that's that tab. So if you want to work on multiple, we could do something like source get name is equal to data 2 and continue on our way. Let me add those brackets there for our rest of our code. Now, if you do this where you have a or, so these two pipe symbols means or. If you want to do and, then you do two ampersands. So it's a little funny how you repeat it, but just like we have two equals is asking a question. So if you notice we have one equal, and that means assignment. That means range is now equal to what e.range was. When you do two equals, it's asking a question. Is source.getName equal to data? If so, true. And the way the if statement works is everything inside the if statement must be true for it to proceed. Now, when you do these pipe symbols is now asking or. So when you ask or, only one of these has to be true. So if we want to work on two tabs, but then we want to make sure we're in the right column, we need to wrap these in parentheses to make sure they're put together. So it's kind of like math when you get the order of operations. And then we could do and column is equal to 3. And so that will make sure we're in this column. And then we could do another thing like is value not blank. But I'm actually going to wrap in here because what I want to do is if value is blank, then what I want to do is to make sure that this is also blank because maybe we selected a product and then we unselected and I want it to automatically clear this out. So the way we're going to do that is do source.getRange and use our row and then column 4 and clear content. And so let's go ahead and just test this out. This is going to be working already. So let's just add something like 10 here. And if I select something, nothing's going to change. But if I uncheck, then that 10 should disappear. And sure enough, it does. So that's what this little piece does there for us. So now what we can do is if value is not equal to blank, now we can come up with our logic for how we're going to determine what's going on there. So what we need to do is we have the value. So let's actually just do a console log here and we'll do it on that value. And so I'll show you where we can read that and see what's going on. So if I go here and pick product 1 and 2, now nothing's happening yet. We don't see anything happening here. But if we go back to our script editor and click on this executions, then we can see all the times the script got triggered. And we click on the last one and you can see here, product 1, product 2. And that debug means that console log that we did. And so it logs it to the execution. So this is what we have when we have product 1, product 2. And so if you notice, there's a comma and a space in between each one. So we can use that to our advantage and we can basically split based on that. So what we're going to do then is we'll say let products equals to val split, and then we're going to do comma and a space. And so now let's console log this real quick and see what we have now. Let that save and then come over here. Let's just add one more. So product 3. And so now let's go check. We go back to executions. Now, one thing to keep in mind is sometimes this isn't updated immediately. And so if this is blank, you may just have to re-click on it and see. And sometimes it takes, even 20 seconds, something like that. So if it's not showing up, just be patient, give it a couple seconds and then reopen it. And then you should see something there. So here's our result. So if you notice when we had, let's go back here on this one, it looks a little different. So this is just a string, but when we did that split, it turned it into what's called an array. An array is surrounded by these brackets. And then we have 3 strings in here with each product. So what we can do then is we can use this to match to our object here and figure out what we need to add to our unit price here. So if we come over here, what we're going to do is we'll make a total here and we'll start with 0 because at this point we haven't added anything. And then what we can say is products for each. And so what this is going to do is for each product in that array. And then I'll just use X as a placeholder and then equals and right bracket to make an arrow, which is why it's called arrow syntax. And then what we're going to do is say total plus equal to, and then we need to get that product. So for example, product 1 and look it up in here to return that value. So the way we do that is product catalog. And then we use this bracket and then we can put that X in there. Because basically what this X is going to be when we had that array, which looked like this. So I'll just call array. And we had product 1, product 2, etc. What this X is going to do is it's going to start with this first one, and then it's going to continue on. So this first one, so when we look here, this X will be product 1 if that's our first one. And so when we look in product catalog, this object here with this key, which is right here, it'll return the value. So what this will do is it'll look up whatever product we have, return that number, and then add it to our total. And then we can go source, get range, row 4, just like we did up here. But this time we're going to set value to our total, just like that. And that is it. That's all the code we need to make this happen from a object here. So let's go ahead and check here. So this one hasn't filled in yet because we added these before the script would handle it. So let's just uncheck one as example and see what happens. So we didn't have anything come through. Let's check the script real quick. And I think here's the issue. Product catalog, project catalog. So let me fix this here. Product. Typos will get you. So product catalog, now it should work. Let's go ahead and go back to product 3. And there we go. There is our unit price. Now we can add a quantity and see our total there. And here I just have a simple E2 times D2 to get our total. All right, so let's go ahead and check this out. So product 1, see what happens. Product 2, see what happens. And so one thing that is interesting is every time you select on one of these, that script runs. So it doesn't wait until you X out of this to run. And then whenever you tab out, then you're good to go. So you go like this, for example, and then go straight to quantity, enter your quantity, and you're good to go. All right, so that's it on how to create it from here. But what if you want to use a settings tab like this? So first of all, let's update this dropdown. So this dropdown is just manually set here. And let's go to drop down from a range. And you can actually do this regardless, but we definitely need to do this if we're doing it from here. And so let's go to this and make sure we allow multiple selections. And there you go, it looks the same. But now we can add a product 4 and we'll just put 40 in there. And now that is available from here as well. So this isn't currently going to work yet until we update it here. So let's go ahead and just remove this and then we'll update from here. So the only part we really need to change is this part, but we need to actually get the values from this tab. So let's go ahead and do that. So if we have value is not equal to blank, then we already know we want to do this. So let's go ahead and come down here and we'll get that. So we'll just call it SS for that spreadsheet and we'll get the active spreadsheet. Then we'll get that settings sheet and we'll do that equals SS get sheet by name and settings. And obviously this can be whatever you're using in your sheet. And then what we're going to do is just to make it easy, I'm going to say let names, or it could be products, but I already am using products here. So I'll just call it names. And then we'll do settings sheet, get range, and then I'm going to get that name. So basically this column here with the names of the products or the people, whatever you're using there. And then get values. And I'm going to add a dot get flat there, or just dot flat. And it just makes it simpler for the lookup. So let's do the same thing with the prices. I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to change this to B. And so you can do this with whatever you're doing as well. If maybe the price is over in column C or D, then you just update that accordingly right there. All right. So now all we have to do is update this. So this is going to be a little funny how we're going to do this, but we're going to do prices. Okay, so we're going to look in this array, and then we want to just determine based from our names. So originally we're doing this mapping based on our object. This time we're doing it in arrays, so it's going to be slightly different. So what we're going to do here is names index of that X. And so what this is going to do is this names array is going to be something like this. So array equals product 1, product 2, etc. And so what this index of is finding the position. So if it's product 1, this starts at 0 in the counting, not 1, so it's a little crazy. But what this would end up doing then is returning index of 0. And so then, because these are the same length and start at the same place, we can then look up that position in prices. So we find the position in names, and then we look it up in prices to get where we're at. But let's go ahead and check this out. So if we come over here, now product 4 should be available as well. So let's go ahead and just check product 4 and see if that comes 4. And there we go. So now if we add another one, it should combine those, and voila, just like that. Now we can select multiple items and get a combined total. Then we can simply add our quantity and get our total price right there. All right, so that's it for today's video. Make sure to check out the other videos on our channel for more tutorials on both Google Sheets and AppScript. And as always, have a great day.